Hey folks, it's Rick. Gonna shut off that metronome that was going. So, thought I'd put out a little video today. Put new strings on this Art Lutherie guitar. And it's still, the strings are still stretching. But this is a wonderful little guitar. I really like it. Moving these microphones a little closer. Hi, Fred. There's my dog. He's here. All right. So, a couple of things. Ed Dana had some really nice things to say about me yesterday, or was it? No, it was yesterday. And I really do appreciate it. It was a little over the top, I would say. So Ed's been watching great guitar player on YouTube, Jimmy Bruno. And Jimmy Bruno's jazz guitar player. He's one of those superhuman jazz guitar players who was able to just play anything. Just anything the guy could play on an arch top with flat wound strings. Brilliant. And he's gone through a little bit of health issues, I think. His playing isn't quite what it was, but now, but before it was fantastic. And he's a wonderful musician. He's a funny man. Anyway, I knew Jimmy Bruno from Duquesne University because they would invite him every year to do the, I don't know if he still does it, but they invite him every year to do the guitar camp. And that means that he would come and he would do master classes. Those master classes were like, it was for more of the advanced jazz guitar majors. And they would have us sit in a room, real small room, kind of like this one, about half the size of my room here. Probably like the size of a chiropractor's waiting room. Something like that. And we would have probably 5 to 10 of us in there with Mr. Bruno, and he would play, and he would answer questions, and he would talk about improvisation and jazz theory and all kinds of stuff like that. Wonderful time in my life when I really didn't have to think about work. And now I gotta think about work. But he was fantastic. I would recommend an album called Sleight of Hand by Jimmy Bruno. Really great stuff. I think. And it's a C. was terrible. There it is. Let me do that ending again. Nope. I don't know. My One and Only Love is the name of that song. And I was terrible at it. Just terrible. But I used to know it in college. But no, I know how to arrange for jazz. I learned that at Pitt University from Dr. Nathan Davis. I took his arranging class, and it was pretty good. It was very good. And I learned how to do jazz arranging. So I can arrange not well, because it takes years of practice to get really good at it. But I understand it. I understand it really quite well. But I guess later here, I'm just comfortable sort of being a blues guitar player with a little bit of extra education. And I think that's the way I see myself. And that's fine. You know, I never fully pursued my career as a musician, and that's an answer to Nick James asked me a while back. How come you didn't become a musician? Because you could. And I guess my answer is I am a musician, but I'm not a full-time musician, and I don't pay my bills from being a musician. I used to be a school teacher, and I would pay my bills teaching music, and I taught lessons, and I played a lot of gigs. But, you know, as the popular vernacular says, I learned to code, and, you know, then I could buy a house, and I could go on a vacation, and I could have a dog with a fence, and all that kind of stuff. And so now I don't have to worry so much about that song that I'm not very good at playing anymore. I don't have to worry about that. I just need to worry about just being a blues guitar player. We do some jazz, and it's not that hard. We don't pick the difficult jazz stuff. And you know, some things that I play, I can respectfully make the changes. And in jazz, making the changes means, you know, the changes are the chords, right? So, in case you didn't know, that song just changed keys, whatever it was that I was playing. So I'm in G, and then I went like this. And that puts me in A. And so making the changes is understanding when stuff like that is going to happen, and adjusting your soloing, or your melody playing, or whatever the hell you're doing, adjusting it so that it fits the music of the song. And you know, years and years ago, songs were a lot more complicated than they are now. And there were a lot of chord changes. There were a lot of classical music concepts that were applied to popular music. And that's why they make great jazz songs. That's why old songs from the 40s and 50s and really the 60s make fantastic jazz songs, because their chord progressions are somewhat more complex and a little bit more gratifying when you're able to figure it out and play it. If I had good examples, I'd give them. Anyway, I will say this. There's a book that I used, and it was called The Jazz Guitarist's... Wait, no, what was it called? Beginner's Guide to Jazz Guitar Improvisation. No. The Jazz Guitarist's Guide to Rhythm, or something like that. And there were, you learned the chords. You learned major 7, minor 7, diminished, half diminished, dominant 7 sharp 5, dominant 7 flat 5, all of those chords you learned, and in different, off of different strings. So you learned them here too: major 7, minor 7, 6, dominant 7, dominant 7, dominant 7, half diminished, diminished. All of those chords shapes you would learn, and it would have them written out in little chord progressions that you could practice, along with this little cassette tape. I still have the cassette tape somewhere. I gotta find it. But anyway, it would be like, I mean, pages and pages of that. And after you got through with that book, you were pretty good at comping. Comping is sort of a jazz term for accompaniment. Rock guitar players would call it the rhythm part. I'm real happy with how this guitar sounds with the new strings. Hi, Freddie. How are you? You're good. We got to go outside and mow the lawn. Yes, we do. You can fake it if you know your theory. Everybody should learn how to read music. That's what I think. I know. There's a lot of great guitar players never read. Everybody's going to put in the comments what great guitar players never knew how to read music. Yeah, it's my contention they would have been better if they knew how to read music. In most cases. In most cases. Anyway. Back to the blues. All right. Peace and later on.